My name is Carina Gardner, and I'm what you would call a practical designer. If you're ready to create a life that you love, become an incredible force for good, and generate income while pursuing your dreams, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Make and Design. Hi, designers. Today, I'm so excited because on the podcast and YouTube channel, I have Angie Holden and Cori George. And today we're going to talk to you guys, about some of the things that they're doing, but also about the sublimation camp that is coming up that I'm getting to participate in. So I'm really excited. Welcome, Angie and Cori.
Thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Okay, so where should we get started? Let's just first give them the deets on Sublimation Camp if you guys are interested in that. So Angie, do you want to start us off on that?
Sure. So if you are interested, this year it's actually Sublimation plus DTF Camp. So if you're interested in sublimation crafting or DTF printing and crafting, we are covering both. And the camp is for beginners all the way up. So if you're a beginner to sublimation crafting, join us and learn all those beginner basics. If you are more advanced in sublimation crafting, we have classes for you as well. So it's 3 days, May 2nd through May 4th, 2024. And we do have a free pass. So if you just want to join us those 3 days, you can join us for free. If you want longer access, then you would need the all access pass, and that gets you access for a year, tons of bonuses, transcripts, all kinds of great things. So either way, free pass or all access pass, be sure to join us, watch those classes, and enter the giveaways. We have a ton of giveaways that you don't want to miss.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, we're really excited. I guess I'm giving the link, right? So they were like, you can use your link, Carina. Okay, great. I'll use my link. So we'll throw that into the description on the podcast and YouTube channel so that you guys can get in for free. Or if you would like to get the all access pass, that's another really great way to go. I really like this. When Sarah, who's our marketing lead, came to tell me about this, she said, Carina, there's this thing. It's a sublimation camp. Like, I think it would be really great for you to come speak at this. It's really the only one I've seen that's really dedicated to sublimation, and then now also DTF, which is pretty incredible. Can I learn, why did you guys decide to start this? And maybe we can start with Cori on this one.
Sure. So Angie and let me start over. Sublimation has been around for a long time in the professional world. And then several years ago, somebody figured out how to hack an Epson printer to be able to do sublimation. That was not us. But we both hacked our Epson printers, and we saw that people were sort of transitioning a lot from being a Cricut crafter to also adding sublimation, because there's a lot of overlap in the things you need. You need a heat press, those sorts of things. And so we started doing some sublimation stuff, and we saw that there really was a need for education that people like us could understand, because there was a lot of really professional education. So we always joke, our audience is like by far women. And so our audience is full of the crafty Carols, right? It's like all of these crafty women. And the people who were teaching about sublimation were like Sublimation Steve, right? It was like a really professional dude, really dry, really boring, teaching you about sublimation. And so we decided, you know what, we need an event or some education around teaching the everyday crafter how to do sublimation on, just for making things for themselves or a small business, not necessarily buying a $10,000 sublimation printer for making mass quantities of things. And so a couple of years ago, we got together and we're like, hey, we should do this together. And so Sublimation Camp was born.
Incredible. So tell me this, are the ones that you're working with, do they have multiple types of machines? So I know that you guys are doing DTF now as well, but are they people who are really coming from Cricut, Silhouette, Brother Scan and Cuts, and making the transition to sublimation?
I feel like a wide range of our audience is doing just that. So they were Cricut crafters. They got a hold of some infusible ink at some point and were like, oh my gosh, these projects are amazing. How can I add my family photos to this? The answer is a sublimation printer. And so they're transitioning that way. I feel like a small portion of the audience probably is just like, what is this sublimation thing? I don't even have a Cricut machine and I just want to do it. But I feel like the bigger majority is like involved with Cricut crafting and wants to take that one step further with sublimation and all like those amazing crafts that you can make with your printer and a heat press.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening who have never heard of sublimation before, we should maybe take this little moment to explain what the heck this thing is. Do one of you want to grab this?
Sure. So sublimation is a printer craft. And sublimation ink is a specially formulated ink that allows you to transfer that ink from the sheet of paper that you printed on onto a surface. And so the sublimation ink, it's a chemical process basically that when you heat it up really at really high temperatures, so usually around 400 degrees, it turns that ink into a gas, and then it basically dries on the shirt or whatever you're putting it on. There are two big caveats with sublimation, because you're probably like, that's the best craft I've ever heard of. All I need is a printer. There are two big caveats. The first caveat is that sublimation ink is transparent, so you can't put it on dark things. So if I put sublimation ink on this dark shirt, nothing would show up because it's transparent. So you need a light or white colored background for sublimation. The second big caveat is that you need a polyester or poly coating on your blank. And so you need a polyester t-shirt, you need a tumbler designed for sublimation, but there are so many blanks. I mean, it is ridiculous. The number of blanks that they are coming out with is just incredible. And so you kind of do have to work within some restrictions, but overall, you have a heat press and you've got a printer and you can make some really cool stuff.
So incredible. So I didn't really know about sublimation until a couple years ago. We started teaching it within our own program in Design Suite because we were suddenly like, oh my gosh, there's this whole category of stuff that only requires PNG files. So like people could actually hand draw out or use their artwork and turn it into digital artwork that we could then put on t-shirts and tumblers and all of that stuff. And it was really a revelation to me because I came from the silhouette world, you know, I'm a designer for silhouette. And so that was really an interesting thing to me. What do you think what are the benefits of moving into sublimation?
So sublimation itself, the biggest benefit for me is that it is very, very permanent. So Cori's talking about that chemical reaction. Once that chemical reaction happens, say with a polyester garment, that ink is actually embedded into the fibers of the shirt at that point. It becomes a part of the shirt. That means that the wearability factor, that shirt, that design on the shirt will last as long as the shirt lasts. Like the shirt will be falling apart and you'll still be like, that sublimation print looks amazing. So the fact that it becomes part of whatever you put it on is like the number one for me. And then the fact that like HTV sits on top, this does not. And it doesn't do that thing like HTV does where it cracks. It, starts peeling up after you throw it in the dryer. You can just have that sublimation shirt and just wear it, wash it, and you have zero issues. So it's like my number one top benefit for sublimation.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, so let's make a transition a little bit to DTF. What made you decide to start talking about DTF? This is also something I've only learned about in the last year, and it requires a very expensive machine if you want to get into it. So do you guys want to delve into that?
So DTF stands for direct to film, which means you're printing on film instead of paper. And one of the biggest differences with a DTF printer is that it has 5+ colors of ink. So with a normal CMYK printer, you're just printing CMYK. With a DTF printer, you're also printing white, which means that then you can put it on dark things because the ink might be transparent, but you can put a white background behind it. So that is the one of the biggest things is that you're now able to print on dark garments. The other big thing is it doesn't need to be polyester. So the two big difficulties that we have with sublimation are not difficulties with DTF. However, DTF printer is very expensive and requires a lot of maintenance. And so Angie and I both, we flew out to Fargo, North Dakota to work with Heat Transfer Warehouse. They're a sponsor of Sublimation Camp. They basically set us up in a room for 3 or 4 days with a DTF printer. And they're like, have at it, learn to use it. Because we both didn't necessarily want one for ourselves because we don't produce a lot of our own products and you really need to run that machine a lot to be able to keep it maintained. But we were so impressed with the quality of the transfers. They do sit on top. They don't infuse into the shirt like sublimation, but they're really soft. They're incredibly easy to apply. So people are, not everybody, but there are some sublimation printers who are moving into this DTF space, as well as it's getting very easy to order DTF prints. So you can just order whatever you want, put it in a heat press. I mean, it's 15 seconds and you have a shirt that should last 40 to 50 washes.
Yeah. So that's the thing I had been seeing, that someone who owns a DTF machine is then making prints for other people. Is that correct? Am I getting this right? And then they're selling those to those people, and then they're using them to make lots of t-shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like once you the investment into the DTF printer, I'm going to say sublimation a million times, but a DTF printer, that big investment, like you need to be able to make that back, right? So you need to be able to make that back as a business, and a very easy way to do that is to sell those DTF prints. Now, I will say you were saying that you hadn't heard of DTF until like the past year, and that's because the technology is very, very new. So Corey and I both expect this to evolve over the next few years and hopefully we'll get some very exciting printers where we're all going to be jumping for joy to have these in our home. But for now, it's a whole process. It's printing. You have to have a fine micro powder. You have to have an oven with an air filter to cure the prints. You have to, follow all these safety precautions with goggles and masks and all these things that we recommend. So for now, you have to be a very dedicated person to have a DTF printer in your home or your studio. But we are both hoping that this technology evolves like sublimation did and becomes more accessible for like the everyday crafter.
Yeah. You guys, you've been hearing us talk about how very expensive it is. Do we want to drop some numbers so that people really understand? Because sometimes I say expensive and people say, oh, is it $2,000? And it is not. It is not.
It's
So
not.
we're looking closer to $5,000 for a DTF printer and oven combo. Angie and I highly recommend getting the oven that comes with it. You can, and there's several brands, but we like the ones from DTF Station. But there's a lot of safety concerns around DTF, and that is one thing that Angie and there are people who are hacking a sublimation printer to be a DTF printer and then just curing the designs on their heat press. And Angie and that's a hard no for us because we want respirator, we want, goggles, gloves, all of these things. And the oven has a charcoal filter, so it's also filtering out a lot of those things that can get through, masks and things. So really, if you want to do it right and you want to do it safely, you're looking $5,000 and up.
Yeah. I think 5,000, I have to say 5,000 seems reasonable because the one I was looking at was $20,000. And I was like, what the heck is this for real? But so just know you can spend a lot of money on this. But I also think if you run it business smart, which you can run this very business smart, you can make your money back and then some to get where you need to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think people are making money with DTF printers, hands down. And the one Corey is talking about is a very entry level printer, but you could definitely get in the business for $5,000, I feel like.
Yeah, so incredible. Corey, did you have anything to add to that?
Nope. I just feel like, I feel like it's $5,000 and that is a lot of money. But if you want to buy a high-end laser, you're at $5,000. It's like, this is a higher end crafting machine. And so I do really hope though, it was described to us as like an iPhone 1 or 2, like we're really in the infancy, and so the people who are really dedicated are getting them and who really want to pour in the time. But because of that, they're basically investing in future products. And at some point we'll have an iPhone 15 worth of DTF printer and we'll all be able to use it. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so incredible. I do love, thank you for pointing out that you can get white, which is incredible because that is one of the issues I have with the sublimation right now. So I have a sawgrass that Sarah gave me and, just trying to figure out the best materials to work on because I do like a good cotton and I do like a mix. And when I choose to use that, which you guys, I chose to use one in their conference. It's just a much more faded. And that might be a look you are going for. You see those faded t-shirts or faded totes. So if that's a look you're going for, it works great. But if you want something really, really bright, you really are stuck with polyester and blanks that make a lot of sense for sublimation. Any thoughts on this or how are people getting around these things?
So I feel like because it's gaining in popularity, the shirts, the blanks, and everything are getting better quality. So we're getting polyester shirts that feel like cotton. So I do think we're approaching that place where we're going to have a very great. So polyester t-shirt is horrible, right? It feels horrible. You can see through it. So we are getting those shirts that feel like cotton. They are not see-through, and you can sublimate on them successfully with those bright, bold colors. So I do think the technology is catching up with where we need it to be to have the quality products we want for sublimating.
Yeah, I think that Bella Canvas in particular, if you're looking for a I don't remember what the breakdown is, but they have their new Eco Max T. That's what it's called. I was going Eco Thin, but that's lasers. My brain is in too many places. So their new Eco Max T from Bella Canvas is, how much is it? Angie, do you remember?
I think it's 65% recycled polyester.
Yeah, so I think it's 65% recycled polyester made from water bottles, and then the 35% cotton made from scraps of their other t-shirts. The shirt is 100% recycled, and it is so soft and so nice. And I honestly don't ever want to make another shirt again if it's not one of those. And it sublimates okay. It's a little faded compared to a 100% polyester, because basically that ink has to bond with only the polyester fibers. So you're getting 65% of a 100% image, if that makes sense. But I do feel like I did a wash test, and overall I was like, it's faded a little bit, but it is significantly better than something like a 50-50 blend.
Yeah, so incredible. And I do think you have to, you're making those choices every time you do this, right? You're like, okay, I really actually want to wear it. And if it's full polyester, I'm not going to maybe wear it, but I'm willing to take like something in the middle, which is, you know, the way it goes. Okay, I am so excited about this sublimation camp. You guys, like, we're going to put the link in the show notes for you for the podcast and in the YouTube channel, because I really want you guys to come join us for this. It's going to be incredible. And especially if you're very interested in DTF and you want to be an innovator, you know, some people like to be at the beginning of these things because it really does put you on the map in a way that's really interesting in business. So if you're wanting to do that, go check that out. I would love for our audience to know where they can come find you other than the camp. So if there's a place you guys want to send people, if you're like, oh, I really want to see what Angie's up to or what Cori's up to. Angie, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So Instagram is a good handle for me, and that's Angie Holden Makes, or you can find me as Angie Holden on YouTube. And then for Cori and I together, it's the Crafting for Profit Live podcast. So you can find us there on all podcast platforms.
And then I am Hey Let's Make Stuff on Instagram, and also Hey Let's Make Stuff or Cori George on YouTube.
Incredible. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys go check out their channels, their Instagram, and go check out their podcast and see what they're up to. It's going to be so good. And if you felt like you got I felt like there was like tons of, actually, in this very short amount of time, really great information. If you've ever wanted to get started in sublimation or DTF, I think the sublimation camp is going to be good for you. Now, if you are listening after sublimation camp has happened, and we are trying to put this out a couple of weeks before, but maybe you've stumbled onto this podcast a year after, I am sure that there's still more things going on. What's a link that people could go to if they just wanted to like find out about you guys? Is there a website that they could go to? Maybe, or maybe just to the podcast, because that would tell you.
Like trying to think off the top of my head here, Carina.
We really need a place where all of our stuff lives, because we don't actually have that site. Okay,
we had this exact same problem the other day. We were talking about it. We were like, oh, once you come to an event, then you're like, it's gone, and you have no idea how to get to it ever again. So
I've talked about this, but I don't think there is one yet. So
yeah. The podcast would be good.
Let's send you guys to the podcast. Say the podcast name again.
Crafting for Profit Live.
Okay. So craftingforprofitlive.com will get you there.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. Incredible. Okay. So go there, you guys, check it out. And whatever their next event is, you can find there, which will be awesome, so that you guys can get to know them, what they're up to. And we're just so grateful they came. Guys, everybody have an amazing day. We're so glad you came, and we'll see you soon. Did you know you have access to more free design content, die cut files, and sewing patterns? Join our exclusive VIP group for free by going to designsweetcourses.com/free.